So, sentience. Sentience. It seems like the way that this word is used popularly, it's being used wrong. The word was coined specifically to for the purpose of distinguishing, um, presumably an organism's ability to feel, to have a sense of like touch or something like that, smell, something like that, have senses from its ability to think. But, and I think this was in the 1600s. This was a while ago. Um, and the ability to think is sapience, right? Two different words: sentience, the ability to perceive the stimulus, or and sapience, the ability to think. But popular usage uses sentience in place of sapience, and this is very clearly promoted by um, franchises like Star Trek, sci-fi in general, and it's kind of just entered the public consciousness this way. But oh my god, it's stupid because how do you have a conversation now? How do you have a real conversation with somebody who knows what the fuck they're actually talking about when the the pop culture dork over here is like, I'll get the but AI and sentience and self-awareness and blah blah blah. Like, you can't have a real conversation because the dumbass who doesn't know how the words work is going to be the one who dominates the conversation and the one who wins because more people are on his side. Right? Like, you get two people, one who actually knows what the fuck they're talking about, and one who's talking about sentience as the ability to think and whatever. And the one that's going to win, the one that's going to get more views, the one that's going to get more attention, the one that's going to be more popular is going to be the stupid one. The one that's using sentience to mean sapience and doesn't even know that sapience is a term. And if you haven't even done that basic groundwork, the content of your thought is probably vacuous as fuck. Like, you don't know what you're doing. Like, this is some basic ass shit, and you haven't even learned that yet. It's like trying to become Albert Einstein, but you don't know how to count past six. Like, there's problems with that. Like, what the fuck? You're not going to be able to do that. Now, there's deeper problems to this as well, right? So, looking at it from, say, a materialist point of view, or like a mechanistic, you know, the sort of thing that science claims that it's giving us. Okay, so what is the line at what point do we draw the line and say that something is sentient? And now this is the correct meaning of sentient, in that it senses things. The only experimental evidence I could imagine, the only way of determining whether something is sentient that I could imagine would be to introduce a stimulus and see if it reacts to it. And particularly see if it reacts to it consistently in similar ways. That's really how you would verify that it's reacting to it at all, and it's not just some other effect that you're unaware of. Okay, so if this is what we're doing, well, the orbit of the Earth and the Moon, right? The orbit of the Moon around the Earth. If we gave the moon a big push in one direction or another, that's going to change that orbit, right? So that orbit responded to a stimulus. Is that sentience? See, and truthfully, I don't even know. I'm sure that you're going to be like, oh, obviously not, but hang on a second. If we are using a materialist, mechanistic model of how things work, if you think that the mind is basically a mechanical machine, then the processes that are occurring, there's just many, many of them at once, are basically that, right? You're having some chemical interactions or some physical interactions or something that is basically like something is coming in and changing how it works, and then you get whatever, it propagates, it cascades, there's all kinds of shit. But basically, at some level, there is something akin to just taking the Earth-Moon system and giving the moon a kick, and it changes the orbit. There's something very akin to that occurring at a low level. There's a lot of them, it's not just the one. But at what point do you draw the line? Right? Why is an earthworm responding to the chemical composition of your hand and freaking the fuck out because it thinks it's going to die because your hand is not what it wants to be in? It's, the pH is wrong, and, it's not right. It's not where it wants to be. So an earthworm, like, freaking the hell out, like, twitching and shit, because you grabbed it with a clean hand. How is that sentience, but the Earth-Moon system is not? Or if you don't think an earthworm is sentient, how about a rabbit? I don't know. What are we doing to the rabbit? Well, it sees you and it's scared and it tries to run away. Okay. Is that sentience? I feel like it's unambiguously at this point sentience. It might even be sapience a little bit at this point. And now, so what's the border between sentience and sapience? Does that rabbit have thoughts? Is it thinking? Or is it just reacting instinctively? And if it's just reacting instinctively, is that sentience or is it not sentience? Because the Earth-Moon system is reacting in a way that you might model as instinctive. So, clearly, all of these ideas are fraught, and there isn't an answer. There's differences between a human being and a frog and a rock, but are those differences actually clear? I'm skeptical that anyone has actually made these differences clear in any real way. And this is completely setting aside whether we even should model the world mechanistically or materialistically, or, there's all sorts of issues there, right? Is there a soul? Is there some sort of supernatural spirit realm? I don't know. You don't either. Yeah. So please stop using the word sentient wrong. Because it has, the thing that you're trying to say has a word, and it's not sentient, it's sapient. And if you can't even get that right, then you are not contributing to any of this usefully. Because you didn't even bother to look up the word. Because everywhere online, if I just look up the word sentient, in the definition, or right next to it, it'll say, there's another word, sapient, which means the ability to think. So, you're so lazy about this that you never even tried to look up the word sentient. You just accepted what people said about it, and now you're like, oh, I'm the wise one, I know everything. No. You don't know shit. Holy crap.